Hello, and welcome back to Lessons in Attachment. Today, I am sharing with you a personal story, and this is for anyone who worries and you find yourself quickly in a spiral, catastrophizing, jumping to worst case scenarios, not being able to focus on anything else. Maybe it's something that starts as a niggle and it just starts consuming your brain. It interrupts your sleep. It interrupts your ability to just enjoy yourself, to function in a conversation or at work. And very recently, I had one of those spirals. And I'm not here to tell you that I handled it perfectly or as quick as I would have liked. And I can see where I could have stepped in sooner, days sooner, actually, because it's something that was definitely building up. But there is something that really helped, something that definitely got me out of it and helped me to go to sleep and feel calmer, even while technically I was still in it because the situation has not yet been resolved. It cannot be resolved yet. So there's still some unknown, there's still some uncertainty. There is still time to worry. So if you worry, if you overthink, if that's one of the main cycles that you find yourself in and it bothers you, I think that's the key thing, right? If it bothers you, if it creates anxiety, if it makes you feel low and fed up, then I really want you to listen to this episode. I want you to stay with me. I'm going to share my real experience and give you some support that I hope will just help you in your own journey. So whether hearing it just gives you ideas on how to handle your own, or it makes you feel seen and understood, or the few tips that I do share later on, whether that is something that you can take away and put into action. I just hope that there's an aha moment here. I hope there is something to help you to worry a bit less. That's what we want. We want to feel more in control of our minds, our body, our life. And so hopefully this will add to that. I am running Stuck to Secure again, 21 days to hitting that reset button, breaking a cycle and, breaking the cycle of worry. It is fantastic for that. So I will leave the details for Stuck to Secure. Have a read of it. If it sounds like something you want to join, 21 days, audio training each day so you can listen to it on the go. You can sit down and meditate to it. It's completely up to you, depends on the time that you have. And it will help you. The last round I did in June, it got incredible feedback. So I really, I'm inviting you to that. We start the 1st of August. One other important thing that I want to share before I give this example of my worry spiral is that you probably know me as someone, or you're finding me as someone who talks a lot about attachment and relationships. That is a huge part of my work. It always will be, I expect. But lately, I have felt a shift. I've been kind of going full circle and coming back to the conversations that really light me up around self-worth, anxiety, overthinking, the kind that kind of really grips you, the people pleasing, all things that actually link to people with insecure attachment as well. But just beyond that, I want to talk beyond romantic relationships. I also want to talk about how you can become unstuck in terms of your work, your habits, your mental thinking. I want you to be able to feel better, to feel happier. And whilst that is also in relationships, it's other areas as well. In some capacity, I've been helping people to change their lives for over 16 years. I know what helps people to change. I know what helps people to feel more secure and to act in accordance with that so that they can feel less anxious, to live braver, to live more open, to feel more alive, more grounded, more you. So I am going to be talking a bit more to your thinking patterns and worry spirals and habits that help us to feel better in general. But relationships will still be a huge part of what I do. There will always be some passion there too. So, if you are still interested and you want to stick around, hit the subscribe button because there is going to be so much coming up on mindset, happiness, well-being, and relationships. Okay, let's talk about this spiral. That's what we're here to listen to. Here's the first thing I want to say. The actual content of my worry, perhaps the juicy bit, if you like, it doesn't actually matter. I know it's juicy. I know you probably want to know, well, what was it you were worrying about? Can I relate to it? But that might move us away from what I'm actually here to help with. So, hear this again. The content of what I was worrying about doesn't actually matter. This isn't about whether the thing I was worried about is important or not. This is about the act of worrying, the mental act of worrying, the habit. This is about what happens in the mind when a worry spiral takes over. Okay. This particular worry had been building for a few weeks, I would say, and then it peaked. And I can see I was in the classic worry cycle. If you relate to this in any way, you have to join Stuck to Secure. Honestly, we're interrupting it. Okay, so classic things that I was doing. I started asking my partner for reassurance way more than once, asking for his advice. But what about this? What about that? But then what about this and what about that? And it was repetitive. He's very patient with me. I was rereading emails like they might have hidden answers. I was Googling like what's best, what should I do, what should I not do, what have other people done. I was literally weighing up the pros and cons, which sometimes can be helpful, but I was in it. So at this point, I was just kind of feeding it and keeping myself focused on it. And I was creating these mental plans, the mental backup plans. And that's what worry does. I wonder if that feels familiar for you as well, that you start going into all of these behaviors where what you're trying to do is plan not only for the worst case scenarios, because that's what your brain does. It goes to these worst cases, it creates images of it and it makes it feel very real. Then you start planning for each possibility. And because usually there are so many possibilities, and then that leads to a new possibility, and that leads to another possibility, you end up making so many plans. Somewhere in the background, which you can't sort of see or is probably in your subconscious, is this belief that if I think about it, if I plan it enough, I'll be safe, I'll be prepared, I'll stop bad things happening, I can figure it out. There is these subconscious drives going on, okay? But at the forefront of your mind, it's catastrophic, it's overwhelming. You're losing that kind of sense of self. You can forget what you were even worried about in the first place in some instances, but your nervous system is essentially just feels like it's on fire. It's really reacting. And remember that your body feels you're in danger here, even though you may well very much be like I was, which is at home, safe, surrounded by comforts, my loved ones, and yet feeling like I'm in danger. Now, at its worst, what happens, and what happened for me, is I did become merged with the worry. So, what does that mean? It means I was the worry. I I was actually in that thinking process as if I did need to figure these things out and as if it was a danger in that moment. I wasn't separate from it. There was a point where I was sweating. Yes, it was hot, but I'm sure I was sweating because I was getting myself into this state. Hot, restless. I was on this loop. The planning, the fixing, the looping that I've mentioned. But then something really important happened. And I don't quite remember it in the detail, but it was in the process of still seeking reassurance. But I managed to catch what was happening. And yes, it was later down the line. I wish I'd caught it sooner, but sometimes you really believe, but this time it's different. But I really noticed, hold on a second. I am doing the things, thinking the things, and acting in accordance with the anxious cycle. And I could see it. I became the observer. I cannot stress this enough. I became the observer of what was happening, that I was in this cycle. Imagine myself a fly on the wall, looking at myself, worrying, and falling into these actions. I became the observer. It's so important. I knew, I've taught this enough times, I knew I had a moment to make a decision. I knew that I could practice what I have been working on, practice what I preach, see this as this isn't just something separate, even though it's a real thing that I need to figure out. I'm in a worry spiral. And instead of trying to think my way out of it, I need to take a different approach. That's what I teach. That's what I help my clients with. So I did speak to my partner again, but this time it wasn't to get reassurance about the worry. This time I was able to say, I'm spiraling. I know I'm spiraling. I know that that's why I can't stop speaking about it and thinking about it. I feel really anxious about it. I want you to imagine that I'd now kind of stepped outside the worry. Yeah. The observer. I was observing it and I was observing what I had been doing. It's the most powerful thing you can do to change so many cycles that we fall into. Because the moment that you become the observer of your mind, you create the space between you and your thoughts and you and those patterns. You realize I'm not this anxiety. I'm the one watching it. I'm outside of it now. And that moment of awareness is pure gold. I knew what I needed to do. As the observer, I now knew what I needed to do. I've had a trigger list. I have had the plans of what I need to do when I'm in these states. And I knew that I needed to step into that wise, secure self, the self that can hold space for the fear without becoming it. When you unmerge, it's just a bit of space. You do still, well, I do. I do still feel anxious. It hasn't just gone away because the problem in my case hadn't been solved. And there was a problem, or there is a problem, I should say, but it can't yet be solved. So, one of the drivers of this, and just see if this speaks to you, is that, and actually my partner pointed this out, and maybe that's one of the things, I don't know if that was before I became the observer, but maybe it's one of the words that kind of reminded me, yes, I'm in the spiral, because he said something along the lines of, it's because you don't know X, Y, and Z. And in that moment, I was like, uncertain, I'm uncertain. Now, if you work with me or you've done Stuck to Secure, you'll know that, or in fact, probably on any of my courses, you'll know that when there is uncertainty for many people, that's when we will go into a spiral of worry. If something's new, you're in limbo, there's unknown, uncertainty, ambiguous, that tends to trigger worry for some people. And in some cases, a lot of worry. And so that was really powerful. And then as that observer, I was able to understand, I was like, okay, it's because there's uncertainty here. Beneath it all, there is fear. This all happened quite quickly, I should say that. But remember, I've been doing this work, a long time. And so I've got to know myself in that way. But you can too. Okay, you can too. Doing that inner work, going inwards and recognizing the fear. There's a fear here. It's around the uncertainty. Just asking myself some really compassionate but powerful questions about what was going on. What was it about this uncertainty? What was I noticing about the thoughts and the images that I was having? And do you know what was really interesting? Is that some of you won't be surprised by this at all, but I've not really linked myself with this in the past so much. But it became very clear that something that I know others really struggle with, I was struggling with in this moment. That became really clear to me. And again, and I was able to repeat this to my partner and say, this is what it is. Okay. I actually automatically felt better. So the fear was around regret. I was afraid What if I make the wrong decision and I end up regretting it? I help people with that all the time. And there it was. But here's what's key. I was worrying on the surface. I was doing all of these things. I was planning and wanting to speak about it and do all the things. Somewhere under my awareness, in my subconscious, I was so afraid of regretting. Getting there, as soon as I realized that that's what was happening, I was able to then, do all of the things around, okay, well, both paths have the possibility of regret, both have pros, both have cons, to boost myself in terms of my confidence that I know that I can handle things, that I can make changes in the future. But I have to put this to bed now because this is a fear of regret. And that's not a way that we're living our life. We are courageous. We are taking risks. It's okay that this is uncertain. I'm feeling like this because I'm stepping into the unknown. And that is not always a bad thing. I can tell you that after this, after becoming the observer, recognizing my fear, I went to bed and I went to sleep. I will tell you it did come up in my dream. It wasn't a nightmare. I think it's just because I had spent so much time worrying about it and thinking about it that it was there. But that's fine. It's been on my mind. So take a moment. Anything that you can take from that that would help you in your worrying states, anything that you need to remember, write it down, note it down, add it to your list. The plan that you make for next time you're worrying, what will I do different? If you're someone who spirals, who worries, who overthinks, here's some of the things that I want you to take away from this. Become the observer. Say it out loud. I'm spiraling. I'm worrying. I'm in it. That simple step puts a gap between you and the thoughts, and you're no longer fused and merged the same way. It's so powerful. Don't underestimate it. Really, I honestly ask yourself, is there anything that is uncertain right now? Worry feeds off uncertainty. The more you name what's unclear, what's unsettled, what's unknown, the more you'll understand that your mind is trying to protect you, trying to create certainty, trying to move you from the unknown into the known. The third thing is, what's the real fear? Not the surface level fear. You may or may not be able to access this. What's the deeper fear? Is it regret? Is it abandonment? Rejection? Think of your core beliefs. What's the deeper fear that you're likely afraid of? And connect with that with compassion. You may well need support from a therapist or a coach if you haven't accessed that, or you really struggle to access that, because that can be a game changer. And dare I say it again, but maybe Stuck to Secure, if you want to know, probably help you to uncover that. Number 4, be clear with yourself. You've done enough planning. We cannot plan for every single possibility. Let that be enough. You've thought about it. You've prepared. You've done what you can. You don't need another mental list or mental spreadsheet or physical one. You can pause. Trust yourself to pause. And lastly, number 5, that's when we can do the physical love, the self-love, the brilliant tools that you've worked so hard to understand, the unmerging. Take some deeper breaths. Place your hand on your heart. Let the thoughts float by like a cloud. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. Come back to the present moment. Remember who the F you are and love yourself. Let's be brave. We live in a world of the unknown. That is not always easy. We're in this together. If you have taken a slight aha moment from this episode, please subscribe. Please follow the podcast, because it means I can reach more people. And that's me being braver. Me asking for your help is me being braver. The more subscribers, the more followers of this podcast, the better it can become. How helpful was this episode? It's so useful to hear other people's examples, and it's so useful to realize you don't have to know the detail because it's not always about that. Worry doesn't always get the better of me in that way anymore. It used to all the time, but this one did, and that's okay. And it didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to remember who I am as soon as I could. And the good news about this situation is I have to make a decision too. I have to make a decision soon. That was something, knowing that really helped. I know that there's a date that I have to make a decision. So sometimes I fast forward to that date or the day after it, knowing, well, at least by then, this will be okay. And sometimes that as well just helps me to soften towards the whole situation. So while it leaves there still room to worry, having this conversation with you, becoming the observer of it, hopefully I can continue to lean into that, what you guys probably hear me talk about on Instagram a lot, the what if this does work out? What if I do make the right decision? What if this is the best decision? What if I end up so happy about this? We can look at the positive as well. My brain is easily going to the what if I regret, what if it doesn't work out. I can choose to say, what if I end up so pleased that I made this decision? What if I do not regret this a single bit? If this episode resonated with you, let me know. Message me on Instagram, carly.ann underscore. I want to hear from you. I think you can definitely comment on YouTube. I think you can leave comments and questions on Spotify now. So just find a way to get in touch. Go for it. And you can also let me know with the shift in topics and content, let me know what you want me to talk about because I'm here for the topics and it's you that I'm here. If you're the one listening, you're the one I want to create for. I will be back here very soon.